Righto, welcome to the archive for legends of the sport from the era when spearfishing really got going in New Zealand, and I'm with Chris Browne, and he probably doesn't need much introduction to a lot of you, but when I first started spearfishing and getting right into the competitive side, which was back in about 1982, something like that, I think. Chris was winning everything. He was the legend in those days, and he was the one we all set as our benchmark to get to. And now you're in your twilight years, Chris. How old are you now?
Well, I don't know that I should put that on record.
How young are you now?
How old do I feel in the morning? Really old. 71, going on 72 in 2 months.
So it's nearly 72. It's 2015. It's September. I'm in the Bay of Islands, which was Chris's home for a long time, and probably if anybody's swum this area, more so than anyone, it would be Chris. And as we've been going around today, he's been reliving some of his youth here and some of the spots that we've gone past. He's told us about, huge catches of snapper that we can't even imagine these days. And you were saying, Chris, like the snapper now are nothing like they used to be.
No, you've got a lot more larger fish in the old days because they were quite old, the old males.
And now they're not reaching that age.
Not reaching that age at all. Now they're probably lucky to reach half that, I would imagine, just for the pressure, that's all.
Yeah, huge amount of pressure. Yeah. But it'd be nothing to shoot 20 big fish in an area like this, in an afternoon swim.
Piece of cake. They all asleep, a lot of them.
20 big snapper. Or more.
Yeah.
More than
if
20.
the spooked one just goes slower for about another 20-30 metres, and you'd probably get a gutter with 2 or 3 in it. Yeah. Just lying there.
Just lots of big fish. And you've had a great spearfishing career, and you're a legend of the sport and whatnot. And I mean, there must be pinnacles in your career. So, I mean, at a guess, Chris was the first guy to spear a marlin in New Zealand. And I mean, is that your pinnacle as far as your best fish? The fish that you remember the most?
Yeah, very much so, because it's never been done before.
Yeah.
And, it's been tried a few times since, but including by myself. But it's just time in the water. Sooner or later you're going to get big fish like that. And you learn each time you get one, or if your friends get one, you learn. You quiz them. And
you learn from people that have done it. I mean, in today's era, guys learn off the internet, and often they're learning from guys that are very inexperienced. I find the really experienced guys, you never see their names on the internet. They're not on there giving their 40, 50 years of experience. There's guys on there with 6 months experience telling young fellas how to do it, and really it's guys like you that that can really tell the stories and have been there and done it. You walk the talk. So, and like, how many times have you been New Zealand spearfishing champ?
A
few, quite a few.
I can't remember really, but
lots. Represented New Zealand lots of times. New Zealand spearfishing team, all sorts of things.
New Zealand team, I think 8 or 9 times, something like that. You just took it as the norm actually when you're at the top of your game. You never thought much about it. And suddenly somebody said, "Oh, you're in the New Zealand team again." Oh, really? Well, that's nice. Where are we going this time? Oh dear, I'll have to save some money.
And in the old days, you'd shoot big numbers of kingies and lots of big fish. You wouldn't even talk about a fish unless it was close to 40 kilos. Nowadays, if somebody shoots something over 20, it's all over the forums and whatnot. So that's how the baseline is moving for what we all accept as a great fish. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which is a sad thing. It's a scary thing.
Somehow you got to re-educate people. I don't know. But I guess that's what happens when humans get into an environment like we've been in. They say, well, they don't really understand it. Actually, they just see big fish, shoot them like I do, many big fish. And I mean, a good afternoon with a spear gun in some parts of Northland, you're 15 to 20 snapper. Good size snapper. 15
to 20 snapper. Now guys get excited about one. Well, we shouldn't laugh, because it's not a good thing.
That's exactly right.
It's not a great thing. And as far as crays and things like that go, the numbers have dropped right down on those compared to what they used to be?
Yeah, you would get Weathers Bay, we were sitting, for instance, it wouldn't have been too hard when I was doing a lot of diving to find crays in some of these rocks here.
Yeah.
I bet you wouldn't find anything in there.
There'd be nothing here now.
Nothing.
And we're only talking a few metres of water.
Yeah.
You can see it here behind the boat on the camera. This is the middle of the Bay of Islands. This area is so covered in boats during the summer and things, but you know, back in your day there was no boats hardly here, was there? You'd have this area to yourself.
Now you're going past the bay like this and there'd be 2-3 barbecue sessions with families in them in the summer, you know.
Yeah.
The next one's the same.
Yeah.
So the pressure's totally different.
Huge pressure. Is there somebody in your dive career that had a big influence on you becoming a good diver, or is there somebody you dived against that you set your benchmark with?
Well, probably a bloke like the name of Darren Shields, really.
No, God no, I was a young fella.
Well, I don't know really. I think Jeff Cookson was about the same as me. We were pretty exploratory. We never go at anything. I'd probably spend more time in the water than Jeff. He had a farm to run, and I could spend most afternoons, you know, having to go somewhere I hadn't been before I arrived to it. You know, I do recall swimming over to from Tauranga Bay to what's the name of the island? Stevenson's and back again. Yeah. On 2 or 3 occasions. Yeah. It was an all-day swim.
Yeah. Now guys are too scared to go that far in their boat.
And of course, you'd get the middle of the week, you'd get the few farmers out and they're having to go out the marlin, you know, the game boats and that sort of thing, and they'd just shake their heads at me, swim me back. Yeah. So where you been, Brownie? I said, I've been right up in the top here, they've got a few snapper, and I'm going to shoot some kingies over here on such and such a reef. Yeah. They just shake their heads and drive away. Yeah. And you were diving places like the Four Knights before it was a marine reserve and pulling big fish off there, weren't you? A guy called Jeff Couchman and I lived in Ohio in those days, and he had a little house not just up the road from me. Had an inflatable with a 25, no, we had a 40 on it in the end. And we would go from Paihia to the Knights and back again, shoot 5 or 6 big kingies. I mean, seriously big kingies. And go all the way back again. That's a huge trip. Paihia to the Knights and back. Yeah. About 4.5 hours in the inflatable. A bit more if it got rough. Yeah. And wonderful trips though, you know. We could go anywhere and just park the inflatable because they're quite safe, the inflatable. You can just throw a little bit of an anchor over and leave them and you don't have to worry about it. A launch or a fizz boat, you've got to be careful of it, you know. But we had some wonderful times there on those. Yeah, well, it's a great sport to be part of. And, you know, you're lucky you've seen a great era of it. The new era, I'm not so sure what it's going to be like, how the fish are going to be, you know, what the laws are going to be and things to protect it, but we've lived a great era of spearfishing in New Zealand. I think we've been lucky. No doubt about that. Yeah. I can still recall, you know, swimming into the hole in the rock very early one morning. I think it's probably about up at 6 in the morning, and there was 2 black marlin in it. Yeah. And these one was a monster and one was a smaller one, you know. And they were just nonchalantly swimming around and they're picking on the golden snapper. Who were trying to flick them with their bills, you know. And we were right over the top of them in 100-foot viz, watching them do it, and they'd roll on their side and look at roll back and flick, trying to get the goalies out under the rocks. Amazing sight. And you've seen things like harpooker there too, haven't you? Great. Big harpooker. Especially early in the morning if you wanted to see, because a lot of fish would obviously stay in that cave, that's what it is, overnight, and then for safety, I would imagine. And then in the morning they'd sort of will come out from under the boulders. So often you'd see 2 or 3 big harpooker just sitting on top of the boulder, basically stationed there, and you're swimming through. And your background was a commercial fisherman, wasn't it? You were a commercial fisherman before you became a spearfisherman, because pretty well. You started quite late in life, didn't you? Compared to what a lot of us, you know, I started very, very young, and guys like you were, how old were you? Probably 40. 40 before you started, so so you know, you've done. But I knew a lot more than 40s. But also with your commercial fishing background, you knew where fish lived. Yeah, you could understand fishing and what they did in the late afternoons, particularly snapper, you know. All spearfishing have been guided by snapper, because that's the major fish. That's our fish we chase. And their habits. And talking about that sort of thing, I suppose a bit like me, I've dived against guys that have been way better divers than me as far as deep divers and things go, but they weren't good hunters. They had no fish sense. No fish sense. Fish sense is what it's all about. it's a thing you've got to learn. Some people are naturally, I was probably a little bit that way myself. I was naturally
good fish sense.
because I was a good hunter on deer and things like that.
Because it goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, hand in hand.
Yeah.
So you stick with it and you learn a lot. Taught my boys, both my boys, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, so you got two boys, Keith and Steve, who are great divers as well. One does it for a living in Australia, commercial diver.
Only diver.
Yeah.
What's he now? Sort of.
He's the same age as me. I think he's he must be nearly 50.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's been doing it for a long time. So
yeah. Be a good diver. Yeah. And Steve was a good diver too. Yeah. Real good.
Not doing much diving up where he is, of course, in humans. There's very little diving into the boozers, that's all.
Yeah. But the thing about spearfishing, here you are in your 70s, you can still come out and swim around, dive shallow, be a good hunter, and get a feed. Shoot a fish for tea, catch a cray if you have to, get a feed of scallops.
Sure.
It's one of the few sports. I think one of the only other ones might be something like golf, where you can continue into your twilight years and still be successful at it. And you've proved that.
I think too the big thing with being in the water is you've got carrying your injuries, etc., from your youth. I mean, we all played rugby and we all had hard-nosed sports, and but you do carry a lot of injuries. But in diving, they're not there. You don't feel them as much, But you go and try and play golf, and there's something wrong with your swing because you've busted your left shoulder or you've broke 2 ribs, and so you knock off that type of sport fairly early on, whereas diving is just a pleasure.
Yeah, you're all supported by the water.
Yep.
And it's certainly nice on a nice day. I mean, today it's windy and cold, but we're still out here doing it. We're sitting in a nice warm sunny bay at the moment enjoying that. But on a good day, it's hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to sort of finish this off, what would be your best bit of advice for a young guy that's getting started?
Let me see. He's got to really get involved with someone that's been doing it a bit like us, if he can, because he'll short circuit the learning curve. Yeah. And that means a big thing.
Yeah. But they've still got to swim to find spots.
Of course they do. They've got to feel at home in the water, and they'll only get that by
swimming.
By swimming and having a few scares and things like that, and getting over it.
Yeah. The thing I find is the first thing people ask me, can you tell me all your good spots? And no, you won't, because you want to keep them to yourself. But the other reason is, the only reason I got reasonably good at diving is I swam a long way and I learned to understand where fish live. And you can only do that by swimming a dead area and then coming across a good area. And every time you do it, you start to recognise why it's a good area. And then you learn. Whereas if you just ran around in a boat and jumped in on all the good spots, you're actually never really going to get that good at what you're doing.
You might fluke the odd one. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of knowledge gained there. Whereas, that intensity to actually get out there and dive and check out the fish life and where they are hiding in the middle of the day. Yeah. Those big snapper, where they are at 4 to 6 o'clock. I mean, he moved out and suddenly, there's a snapper underneath you. Yeah. A big snapper, record snapper and things like that. So it's a learning curve.
They're a great fish to hunt, aren't they, the snapper?
Wonderful,
yeah, we're lucky to have them here, that's for sure. So we'll wrap it up there, but that's Chris Browne, one of the great legends of spearfishing in New Zealand from the 19th century. Is that right? The 19th century? Am I talking the right century?
That'll do.
Yeah. But no, Chris has lived a great era and he's done a great service to spearfishing in New Zealand, and he's helped out a hell of a lot of young guys with his knowledge and whatnot. He's always good at that. It's one thing with Chris, you walk up to him and you ask him about diving and things, he's always more than happy to tell you about it, whereas a lot of other guys will clamp up and won't tell you anything. Chris has been very generous with his knowledge. So thanks, Brownie, for everything you've done for spearfishing.
It's a pleasure.
And it's been a great day's diving with you.
Yeah, mate.